Okay, here we are at part 3, and we're actually winding down to the end here now. I just want to show you how I finish off this background and put the card together. So I again have a variety of products. I have some stamps from ArtFoamies that I'll link down below. One is from the Microcosm stamp set, and the other is from the Patterns stamp set from ArtFoamies. I have this honeycomb background stamp from 100 Proof Press. I have this little Saturn stamp that came to me from Shock Shack on Etsy. Just a little peg stamp. I have 2 colors of Delicata. This is a pigment ink that has a bit of a shine to it, a radiance to it. Gold Glints and Rose Gold. I also have my embossing buddy here, my embossing tool. I have Nouveau embossing powder in crystal clear. And I have Brutus Monroe embossing powder in sterling. And somehow, since the last take of this, I managed to misplace my Hero Arts pad. So I'm going to substitute VersaFine Clear for the black stamping. And just to show you, I have some Nouveau Deluxe Adhesive craft glue that I'm going to use to put the layers together. Okay, let's get started. I have my background that we created in the first episode. I have the Copic colored panel that we created in the second. I'm going to set that to the side for the moment. And what I want to do is use my ArtFoamies to heat emboss some designs on this background. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. I'm going to slip a sheet of blank paper. And I forgot to show you that I also have some Versamark that I'm going to use to stamp. Okay, so I have this stamp from ArtFoamies, and I want this little, I'm not going to be stamping the entire image onto my background, but I want this little detail to show. Okay, so I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to ink up this ArtFoamies stamp real well. Now my background should be good and dry, but just to be safe, I'm going to use my embossing tool to spread. This actually smells like baby powder. Okay. And I'm going to take my little ArtFoamie. I'm going to stamp it right there. And you can see the impression that it left from the Versamark. I'm going to put that out of the way. And then I'm going to take these other 2 ArtFoamies. I'm going to stamp all of this at the same time. And I'm going to stick this little guy down here. And this one will go up in the upper corner. I'm going to put it kind of like that. Okay. And put the Versamark out of the way. Let me get my little ArtFoamies out of the way. And I'm going to take the Brutus Monroe, the sterling embossing powder. And sprinkle it on the designs. A little bit of excess. And hopefully I can do this time without dumping it back on the table. There we go, something resembling success. And I'm done with the sterling embossing powder, so I'm going to stick it to the side. And I'm going to get my heat gun going. I want to warm it up a little bit to begin with so that I don't warp the paper. I'll start from underneath. And I always love that moment when the embossing powder melts. Oops. Try not to burn yourself. And that part of the heat embossing is done. Now you may have noticed I forgot to use the embossing tool up in this area, and I did get some stray embossing powder that is melted on, but I'm not going to worry about it. It just is another layer that's added to the design. Okay. From there, I'm going to take the honeycomb stamp from 100 Proof Press, and I'm going to use it to stamp the design with the delicata, both in the rose gold and in the gold. And I'm just going to take a corner, I'm going to ink it up, and just randomly stamp it. I'll take a different corner and ink it up with some of the gold and stamp it as well. Just random, which is hard for me. That's not my forte. I like everything to be nice and straight and even. So I have to really work at random. Close both of those up. Bring my sheet of paper back in here, and what I'm going to do this time is cover this with the clear embossing powder. And what that will do is to help seal in the pigment paint so it doesn't smear while waiting for it to dry, but also gives this a little extra shine. Take this, close it up. Gonna pull out my heat gun one more time. And just melt that clear embossing powder. Okay, so now that part's done. And I'm just gonna get the excess embossing powder off my workspace. And now I'm going to take this little peg stamp with the Saturn planted on it. And I'm just gonna randomly stamp. Some of that's going to end up getting covered, but that's okay. With the VersaFine is what I did it with. Okay, and that is the background. Okay, so I have a card base. I'm going to take my background, I'm going to apply some glue. You can use tape if you want. I just like to use glue because I'm not good at getting things on straight, and the slower drying time of the glue gives me a little time to wiggle it around. So I'm going to adhere it to the card base. Give that a moment to set up. Okay. And then we have our little piece here that was the Copic color piece. Now, to save time, because these videos have been awfully long as it is, I went ahead and adhered a piece of craft foam onto the back of it. The reason for that was that I wanted it to stand up a bit from the card, and in doing that, it gives support across the entire piece. Now, if you don't want to use craft foam, or if you don't want to, you could use adhesive dots or adhesive strips, foam tape, whatever you happen to have. But this is what I used. So I already have it adhered on one side. I'm going to add the glue here to the back. And I'm going to press this down in the middle. See if I got it straight. It's relatively straight. It's pretty good on the first try. Okay, and there you have it. There's the completed card. Lots of shine, lots of fun elements, multiple layers going on with the stamping and the embossing. So anyway, if you've stuck it out with me this long, I really appreciate it, and I hope that I see you in the next video. Thank you so much.